Welcome to Storrs, Connecticut, as we honor Pat Summitt and her continued impact on women's college basketball, both on and off the court. We are at Gamble Pavilion, where 11-time national champion UConn plays host to Tulane, trying to extend the longest winning streak in basketball history to 93 games. And moments ago, Deb Antonelli caught up with UConn coach Geno Auriemma.
Coach, this is the We Back Pat week. She seemed to bring out some of the best competitiveness in you. What do you remember most about competing against her?
I think it wasn't, just me. I think the whole competitive landscape was affected by, Pat and her team and the way they played and the tone that they set. And certainly, the games that we had against them were memorable. I mean, they're some of the best basketball games ever played, and the rivalry became, unique in women's basketball. And she was able to, I think, get you to have to raise your level to meet theirs. They weren't going to necessarily back up to play down to your level, and I think that made everybody that played them either play better than they were, get better, or they were going to lose.
And a very pleasant good afternoon, everyone. Along with Deb Antonelli, I'm Bob Picozzi. And Deb, I think someone who would have enjoyed the challenge of trying to beat Coach Pat Summitt is UConn's sensational sophomore, Katie Lou Samuelson.
Boy, she's been really good over the last 3 games, where she's averaged 27 points, which is above her season average. Katie Lou, 66% of her shots last year were outside the arc. That's because she waited for the ball to come to her. This year, only 48% of her shots are taken outside the arc because she's added all 3 levels to her game. She can get to the rim. She's very good in the mid-range. She's a terrific finisher, and she's coming off a career-high 34 points in the last game against Tulsa.
Samuelson leading the league in scoring. And the best player on Tulane's team is Colby Morgan. She is 7 inches shorter than Katie Lou, but she can score it as well.
3 consecutive games of 20 or more points. She is their best offensive player. She will draw the assignment, most likely, of Kia Nurse defensively. And Colby Morgan says she is ready to play. Yesterday at practice, they went through a couple of sets that featured isolating her. Let's see if she can get it going for Tulane early.
Our officials today are Bob Enterline, Carla Fountain, and Karen Prieto, and UConn wins the tip. The Huskies 17-0. Tulane is 12-6.
Tulane will start out in the zone. We will see multiple looks from them defensively.
And Nafisa Collier. She is the 7th most accurate field goal shooter in the country.
Connecticut picks up in their full court man. They look to extend their defense. There's Kia Nurse on Colby Morgan, and there's the switch.
Now Nurse picks the pocket of Leslie Vorpal, who had 7 turnovers when Tulane played here a year ago. Sanaya Chan to Gabby Williams. Low block Collier.
Really good job by Tulane getting back in transition off the turnover. You got to match up quickly, and you have to match up to the 3-point line.
Ball knocked out of bounds. Last touch by Gabby Williams with 22 to shoot. Tulane is coached by Lisa Stockton. She's the winningest coach in Tulane history. 473 victories in her 23rd year. And played against you in college, Deb, when you were at North Carolina State.
Yeah, all 4 years. She was a great player at Wake Forest, a terrific point guard for them. And she is an excellent coach, and she sees of a top-level point guard.
Shot clock down inside 10, and a bailout foul will be called on Samuelson. Geno Auriemma is the 5th winningest coach in women's basketball history, and that 879 one-loss percentage recently, he went ahead of Leon Barmore, and it is the best in the history of the game.
He is tracking down 1,000 wins. 21 games are left on the schedule. That's the max number of games that Connecticut can play if you count the conference tournament as well as playing for the national championship. So we won't get to that number this year, but early next year, expect that to happen.
Correction, the first foul was on Collier. Oriema's won those 11 titles. Oh, they worked on that throughout the shoot-around today, and Gino Auriemma kept saying, Deb, it'll be there, and it was there for Collier that time.
Well, one of the things that I love watching about Connecticut is they only dribble with a purpose. You're not going to see them put the ball on the floor unless it's to drive to the basket or improve an angle.
Samuelson with the miss, and way up in the air at 5'8" for the rebound is Morgan.
You can get some early offense before Connecticut sets up in their D. You have to look to attack.
Morgan with an open look. And rebound inside, pulled down by Williams, fouled from behind by Harlan Wyatt.
When you talk about moving the basketball and not putting it on the floor unless necessary, Connecticut gives you a clinic in how to do that. Good use of the short corner, good movement without the basketball. The one thing they all do well on both ends of the floor at Connecticut, they are always connected offensively, and they are very connected on the defensive end.
They lead the country in field goal shooting percentage, and an open look for Samuelson. She won't miss many of them. This is Leslie Vorpal, who is 10th in the country in assists.
You have to work for everything against Connecticut. And there's a turnover by Leslie Vorpal. You have to work for everything, Bob. Nothing's going to come easy. You're going to have struggle to get points in transition. It's going to be tough to get points off the offensive glass. You're going to have to be able to execute, and you have to be able to make shots.
Already 3 turnovers for the Green Wave in the first 2.5 minutes. Turnovers have been a big problem in Tulane's games against UConn in the past. And we'll get a foul on Wyatt, and that will be her second and 2 on the team. And a quick substitution. Lisa Stockton will go with Ksenia Majarovic, as Wyatt will have to sit down.
Majarovic is 6'5", and she will be able to take up a little bit of space. She's going to have to really work the rebound.
Chong, low block to Collier. Everything is running through Collier so far, and she missed the easy one. Morgan looking for something in transition, and Lisa Stockton told us at practice last night, if it's there early in the shot clock, we'll take it. Otherwise, we want the first best shot.
Gabby Williams picks up the guard, Morgan, and can guard 1 through 5. She is so athletic. One of the things Gino Auriemma really loves about her versatility.
Tulane's had 1 field goal attempt and 4 turnovers. Inside Williams, and she will draw the foul on Majarovic. And that's already 3 team fouls on Tulane. So to the free throw line will go Gabby Williams, and Deb, Gino Auriemma just talked at length to us at shoot-around about Gabby, and he called her the best athlete in the country.
Well, it's part of that versatility that I was just talking about, her ability to guard the point guard in transition, which she did. She did pick up Colby Morgan in transition, but she also can guard the center for the other team.
And he told us she's undersized, but because of that athletic ability, she can get away with it because she's so flexible, is the word he used. Vorpal as UConn tries to trap. Inside, the shot is rejected by Collier. She leads the American Conference in that category. Low block Williams around Majarovic.
You know, last time she tried to score over the top of Majarovic, she didn't get her shot to finish. This time she dribbles around. It's the way you go against a taller player. Not through, but around them.
So Lisa Stockton will need an early timeout. In its last game, UConn scored the first 14 points, already up 5. And we caught a glimpse in that Doris Burke piece of our ESPN colleague Rebecca Lobo, and it was on Martin Luther King's birthday in 1995 that Rebecca and the UConn Huskies played Tennessee for the first time. It was a very historic win for the UConn program. We are joined by Rebecca back in the studio. Rebecca, I'm sure your memories of that day are indelible. What memory stands out the most?
I think it was just the atmosphere in Gampel Pavilion that day. It was sold out. It was electric. People knew that Tennessee and Pat Summitt were in the building. They were ranked 1. We were ranked 2. It was the first time that I really felt that kind of energy around the women's game at Gampel. We've seen it a lot since, but it was a pretty remarkable experience in terms of a basketball game.
Rebecca, as someone who played in the rivalry, Gino talks about the uniqueness of it in women's basketball. What did you find so unique about the competitive nature between the two programs?
I think that the level of respect was equal to the level of hatred that was there between the two programs. There was always so much on the line that the players, they did not like each other when they were on the floor, but when they left school or the summer or whatever, they had so much respect for one another. I think the players who played for Gino kind of felt and understood what it felt like to also play for Pat Summitt when you talk to some of the Tennessee players. So there's just an incredible amount of respect between the two programs.
Rebecca, that was the first time the two teams met, and they met again in the national championship game in April in Minneapolis. How important was it for UConn to have that regular season win under its belt over Tennessee when you played the Lady Vols in the championship game, which was an address that they were familiar with and you guys were not?
Yeah, I think it was hugely important. I think it's what a lot of teams feel now when they play against UConn. It's always good to play against them in the regular season if you feel like you might meet them in the tournament, because you need to have a belief when you get into a tournament situation that you can win the game. And I think us having that experience the first time Connecticut had ever played Tennessee, having a successful outcome for us, really gave us the mentality in that championship game to believe we could win.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. We'll see you at halftime. Make sure you keep Coach Landers under control there until we get to halftime, all right?
Best, but I can't promise anything.
Bob, did you hear Rebecca talking about believe that they could win? I wonder how many programs in women's basketball right now believe they can beat UConn.
I don't know. I would think that maybe, at least from a player standpoint or from a coaching standpoint, I think that every time the Baylor takes the floor, Kim Mulkey thinks her team's going to win. I don't know if the players think that they can beat this UConn team. They of course, lost to UConn earlier this season.
It certainly is, like Rebecca alluded to, valuable that you had a chance to face them in the regular season. So those teams that get a chance to play Connecticut, and you talk to players and coaches that have played against them numerous times, not that it's comfortable, but at least you have some sense of understanding of what it takes, what the intensity is like. And you don't know that if you never play them.
Off the turnover, Samuelson goes to the left hand, and the rebound pulled down by 22, Meredith Schulte. UConn has opened up a 9-point lead. Collier already with 8 points, and Collier just picked up her second foul. And Deb, among the many things that UConn does well is they don't foul. In their last game against Tulsa on Tuesday night, they committed 7 fouls in 40 minutes.
Which means you don't get to the free throw line, and that's an opportunity to get easy points. That's why it's so imperative that you execute on the offensive end. And coming off the last time out, while we were talking to Rebecca, you could see the intensity for UConn rise on the defensive end. They were able to turn Tulane over and be able to stretch out this lead.
Collier and Williams have combined for 13 points today on 6 of 8 shooting. They are 1-2 in the American in field goal shooting percentage. Collier stays on the floor with 2 fouls. You surprised at that?
No, I'm not surprised. Gino Auriemma doesn't have the kind of depth on the interior. And now maybe with Gabby Williams picking up a foul, maybe he'll consider Natalie Butler.
Big Monday presented by eBay has a couple of great matchups tomorrow night at 7 Eastern in the ACC. North Carolina State visits number 18 Duke. Then at 9 in the Big 12, it will be Oklahoma and Texas. And Deb, last night, the Duke Blue Devils looked like a defeated team at halftime, trying to avoid a 3rd straight loss, which is almost unprecedented for them. So they proceeded to score the first 20 points in the second half against Miami.
How about Jeff Capel changing it up to start the second half to give his club a jump start on the defensive end?
Yeah, he kept Grayson Allen and Luke Kennard and Harry Giles on the bench to begin that second half, and it was the defense that really resulted in that turnaround last night in the victory for the Blue Devils. Collier juggles the pass, brings it in.
Tulane has had to go to the man-to-man, and you see the double team come and the spin away from the double. And look how much hustle there is right there in Gabby Williams. She was the one that was on the baseline that was stuck in the double team, tried to score out of it, and she sprints all the way down the floor.
Kia Nurse. The Huskies have tremendous balance on this team. As you alluded to, they are not a deep team at all. Nurse with the spin move and that will be the second foul on Williams, crashing the board. So that depth is going to be tested today. Williams and Collier each with 2 fouls.
Wow. You mean Tulane might get a chance to shoot free throws one time, sometime? I mean, Stockton was talking about that with us yesterday, about how she's been up here a couple of times and not one time shot a free throw.
Yeah, she said last night at practice, I don't know why we're bothering to shoot free throws here. They had played 80 minutes in this building before this afternoon without attempting a free throw.
And you notice Tulane was in their man-to-man in the last possession. Connecticut staying in the man here. And they like to switch on some of that ball screening action.
And Collier and Williams both stay on the floor with 2 fouls each. Nurse for 3. She's second or third in the American in three-point percentage.
Harding goes underneath that ball screen, and Kia Nurse just steps back and sticks it.
Nurse, the preseason choice for American Athletic Conference Player of the Year. And if they had to do that vote all over again, Deb, 17 games in, she might finish third, maybe even fourth on her own team in that category. Not that she's having a bad year.
No, but Katie Lou Samuelson is having an exceptional year as Morgan scores.
This is Nurse. They leave her wide open again.
I think she is streaky. Remember that she had 33 the last time they were in this building playing at home against DePaul.
Yeah, but that was so long ago. UConn had to use GPSs to get here today. It's been 51 days since the Huskies played a game on their home floor on their own campus.
Well, I was with Emma for the interview. The players couldn't remember the code to get into the locker room. They hadn't been here for so long.
The pull-up by Morgan, and the rebound is pulled down by Collier in a held ball, and on the possession arrow, it stays at the UConn end.
Kia Nurse is so good at finding offense and in transition. Watch right here how she's going to pass and go to the corner, and all Sanaya Chong does is draw the D just enough to allow Nurse to set her feet. You know, I'm a big believer in transition and running all the way to the corners, especially when you're a shooter, because that really flattens out the defense and it opens up the top of the floor for you to be able to make plays, create space.
Now Gina Auriemma has gone to the bench, and he's taken out Williams and Collier, who each have 2 fouls. 51 Natalie Butler and 25 Kyler Irwin have checked in.
Well, here's a chance where you get into their bench, where you can run some offense, where you can get that switching defense to isolate the players you want to score. And that's the player. That's the one you want to have the basketball right here. So you unload your playbook while Collier and Williams are on the floor, on the bench.
Chong misses the 3, and nobody put a body on anyone in Hawaii uniforms, and Irwin chased the rebound down virtually in the corner.
You see, this is if you're Tulane. You're in a 9-point game, 3 possession, and you really want to D it up right here. This is going to give you some confidence if you can get some stops.
Morgan at 5'8" blocked the 6'3" Samuelson's jump shot.
I mean, this is a Tulane team that has wins over NC State and Auburn. Those are 2 resume-building W's.
16 seconds left on the shot clock for the Green Wave, who enter 3-2 in league play. Williams and Collier each on the bench with 2 fouls. Morgan deflected out of bounds by Samuelson with 11 to shoot.
You forget about the length of Katie Lou Samuelson and how she has learned off the ball to anticipate. Gets a nice deflection that allows Connecticut to reset.
Thompson, shot clock inside 10. Latham passes into traffic with 1 second to go, and she got it off just in time.
See, that is the poise and the patience of a veteran team. Latham is a senior who understood time and score.
Shot clock off for UConn with a 7-point lead.
Looking for Katie Lou right here.
Nurse with the pull-up just tried to draw the foul, didn't get it. And the first half will come to an end. So Tulane took a punch early, bounced back very nicely to pull within a workable 7 at the end of 1. Defisa Collier picked up 2 early fouls, the 7th most accurate field goal shooter in the country. You are watching the American Conference on ESPN, and we're at Gamble Pavilion. I'm Bob Picozzi along with Deb Antonelli. And Tulane, which in its last 3 games against UConn, lost by 47, 40, and 57. Deb finds itself down only 7 after 1.
Well, and Gabby Williams and Nafisa Collier on the bench for UConn with 2 personal fouls in the first quarter. So Coach Auriemma has gone a little bit deeper into his bench, and Tulane is hanging in there.
Leslie Vorpal, guarded by Nurse. One Shakira Harding checks in. She went the backdoor route, then was surrounded by the trees. And here's Samuelson, 2-on-2 the other way.
Great finish. And the turnovers have been costly for Tulane. And you turn it over on the baseline, you should be able to get back and stop the basketball, but they've got to do a better job in transition.
8 turnovers. The pull-up jumper by Latham for the Green Wave.
Yeah, I'm sure Lisa Stockton would rather have that quick shot than to make a couple of passes and allow Connecticut to get into rotation, and you can't take advantage of it.
Lisa told us last night, look, we've played them 5 times in the last 2 years. I'd like to think the wow factor is behind us. And that wow factor results in a lot of first-round knockouts for UConn opponents.
Well, at least Leslie Vorpal didn't have to worry about going against Mariah Jefferson. It's a nightmare for most players, last year's point guard, to have to bring the ball up the floor against her.
Entry pass deflected, then Vorpal lost it. Last touch by Irwin of UConn.
Katie Lou has added this part of her game right here. She comes up with the steal right on the elbow, and then watch the left-hand dribble all the way down the floor, avoids contact and finishes. Nobody stops the basketball for Tulane, and you have to divert her, make her shift and change direction, not allow her a straight line drive.
Nurse with the steal, drives on the much shorter Vorpal. And Williams, despite the 2 fouls, has re-entered for UConn, replacing Irwin.
They're trying to ice those ball screens on the side, and then they end up switching. So what that means is you're trying to keep the ball from reversing. You're trying to keep it on the same side of the floor.
Latham drew 2 defenders, and the second time is the charm for Madison.
I thought I've seen everything in basketball, but I have not seen that. It went through the bottom of the net, back down, she caught it, and then she scored again. You got to have all kinds of luck going your way in a play like this. Watch. The ball goes through the net. It comes back through the cylinder. I'm wondering if that wasn't 2 points from the get-go.
So you're saying you don't think she practices that?
Did you think she got 4 points on that play?
I think that'd be one way to beat UConn.
Yeah, that would be
get
one
4
way.
for each field goal. Foul at the other end on Vorpal, and at the free throw line is Samuelson, who is an 80.4% free throw shooter. UConn literally only has 9 players in uniform. One of them is a walk-on, so they may have 11 national championships, and they may be 17-0. They may have a 92-game winning streak, but the fact of the matter is this particular UConn team is not deep at all.
Oh, off the window, beautiful. You can see why Morgan is a 21 or an 18-point per game scorer, but has scored 20 in the last 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, double figures in her last 11 games. Nurse around the screen from Williams. The shot was blocked, but a foul is called on Tanae Thompson. Tomorrow during halftime in the Mississippi State-South Carolina Big Monday game on ESPN2, and that'll be a great one, by the way. Be sure to tune in to see the first of 3 NCAA Top 16 reveals. And additional reveals will take place during Big Monday doubleheaders on February 6th and on February 20th. By the way, Mississippi State, the only team in the country other than UConn that's undefeated.
What a game that will be on Monday night in Columbia. I can tell you the G-Hive and Gamecock Nation will be alive. And Dave O'Brien, Doris Burke, and Carol Lawson will be on the call for that one.
And South Carolina, which has only 1 loss this year, will be right here at Gamble Pavilion to beat UConn, to meet UConn, excuse me, Freudian slip there, on Monday, the 13th of February in a Big Monday game on ESPN. Samuelson knocks it down. Deb, you know, when you look at the UConn schedule, let's face it, there aren't very many potential losses. Certainly South Carolina, if you look at the whole schedule, you would say that probably is the best remaining team that has a chance to beat UConn because they're so skilled.
Yeah, I think that's the only remaining competitive matchup for them. That's a team that actually has a chance to win.
Janae Thompson hits the pull-up jumper. Tulane hanging around. Down by 7 at the end of the quarter, now down 9.
You can see that they're doing a better job of settling in offensively. However, Katie Lou with back-to-back baskets. She is such a good rhythm shooter, especially in transition when she has time to set her feet. But that pin down right there where she popped to the elbow, that has become money for her.
She's got 9. She is the leading scorer in the American. Morgan draws the double kick out. Lathan fouled after releasing the ball on a 3. Foul on Chong. That will be her first, and 1 on UConn here in the second quarter. So 2 to the free throw line will go Lathan, a senior from Houston. Super Tuesday presented by CenturyLink posts a terrific doubleheader. First of all, in the Big 12, West Virginia coming off a loss yesterday. They're ranked 7. Will take on number 2 Kansas. Then at 9, we head to the SEC. Number 5 Kentucky versus Tennessee. And Deb, since losing the opener to Indiana, Kansas has run the table 18 straight wins.
Have you seen Frank Mason and Devontae Graham play? That's one of the best backcourts in the country.
Which is why the blockbuster, Sonic blockbuster matchup on January 28th is so intriguing. Kentucky with one of the best guards in the country, Malik Monk, and Kansas with, do you believe, the best backcourt in the country?
I think they're one of them, but Tulane right here switches to the zone, and they get a stop off it.
Only the second turnover for UConn. Vorpal tried to draw contact and a foul by Williams. Did not get it, much to Lisa Stockton's chagrin, and she's giving Carla Fountain an earful. Chong for 3. Long rebound to the 5'6" Vorpal. Kick out, and the jumper by Majarovic is no good. Rebound on a bounce winds up in the hands of Collier.
When you get an open shot, you have to make it, but you have to have the right people taking shots.
Into the post. Williams out to Samuelson.
It's so hard to score with Connecticut, but it's certainly one of the ingredients that you must have if you're going to knock them off. And Katie Lou Samuelson, what a terrific second quarter she's had. She's made their last 3 baskets.
Vorpal misses the 3. Nurse with the rebound. Tulane does a good job of getting back defensively. Huskies up 11, looking for their 93rd straight win, and Collier connects another timeout for Lisa Stockton.
You try man, you try zone, you try everything that you have defensively to try to slow them down. But when they're given an open look, they're just too talented.
Thank you very much, Doug. Katie Lou Samuelson, Deb, in the first quarter was 0 for 4 from the floor. A little bit better in the second quarter, 4 for 5.
A good D by Connecticut. That's what I call America's play. You reject the screen, rescreen, and fill behind it.
The Nurse will draw foul number 2 on Vorpal. And 2 on the team. And Nurse is the second best free throw shooter in the conference at 85.5%. Tonight at 11 Eastern, tune into SportsCenter at night with Bucci and Anderson. They'll have all the highlights and breakdowns from the Packers, Falcons, and Patriots Steelers games, as well as the NBA, NHL, College Hoop, Australian Open, and everything else. Wrap up your weekend with SportsCenter at night on ESPN. And Deb, how about at the very end of our shoot-around chat with Gino Auriemma today, I mentioned the Patriots game tonight, and he says the conference championship games are today. Oh, that's right. Today is Sunday.
Focus, total focus.
And he was so happy that he gets to coach a basketball game and then get home and watch 2 football games. Counted in the foul for Morgan.
And Kirby Morgan is very good off the bounce. We've seen her from three. She can turn a corner. She put 34 points on Vanderbilt's defense. And this one attacking Kia Nurse. We knew we'd see that matchup.
So Morgan with 11 points on 5 of 8 shooting. She's the 5th leading scorer in the league and doesn't seem the least bit intimidated playing against a team that's won 92 straight.
And Tulane has not missed at the free throw line, which is really important if you're going to stay in this game.
Well, that means they've never missed a free throw attempt here in this building. Samuelson adding with 2 more. Boy, she has developed into so much more than a jump shooter, Deb.
Well, there's no question she is able to seek some shots. She's added to her skill set. And I think she's become a better defender. But watch her get out on the break. Oh, that's a double dribble.
Williams foul line jumper. And on the rebound, we will get a foul called.
That's on Collier. That's going the other way.
Collier, yep. Wow. So UConn has already committed as many fouls this afternoon as they committed in the entire game against Tulsa last time out on Tuesday. But more important than that is the 3 on Collier, who stays on the floor.
And the official on this side of the floor, Bob Ennerline, is having a conversation with Gino Auriemma, who's on the other side of the court, about that last call.
Nurse step back, can't get it to go, and then nearly got her own rebound, but instead will be called for her second foul on the reach-in. So 2 on Nurse, 2 on Williams, and 3 on Collier. Wow. I think because he always is coaching such talented players, Gino a lot of times, Deb, I think likes to try to make his players figure things out on their own. But when you have 3 on Collier, 2 on Williams, and 2 on Nurse, he's going to have to do some juggling today.
They seem to handle any adversity that is sent their way, or any that they've created on their own.
Morgan, wide open 3.
And when you don't have your regular rotation out there, that's where it can hurt you. You know, Natalie Butler's got to be able to help and got to be active on. They just didn't match up well. The poor communication.
Samuelson. Butler down low to Williams.
So big going to her offhand.
She's got 7 on the midseason watch list for the Naismith Player of the Year award, as are Samuelson, Nurse, and Collier. The steal, Samuelson ahead to Nurse. 13 points for Nurse, who played for Canada in the Olympics last summer. Coming up on the 1-minute mark in the first half. Latham, rebound pulled down by Butler.
Good pass by Morgan. Look how hard running the floor.
Out to Samuelson for the miss, and rebound on a bounce to Latham. 2 on 2 if they want it.
Get a chance for a 2-for-1 here if you can score quickly.
Instead, Butler will pull down the rebound. Quickly up the floor to Samuelson. The runner.
And that is just beautiful. That is hard work. And now Tulane can wait for the last shot.
Tulane has had no answers for Samuelson.
Not many teams have. And that's just a poor pass and a turnover.
And a steal comes to Samuelson, switches with the left, and will get to the line.
I love the way Katie Lou Samuelson has continued to add to her skill set. She had these skills last year. She could score, but she deferred a lot because there were 3 really good players on the court at Connecticut. This year, she is seeking her own offense and playing with a ton of confidence.
Yeah, and as Gino told us today, this time she hunts shots down. So again, Tulane with the shot clock off. They really would love for this to be the last possession of the half this time. Stepped on the baseline.
So what could have been a 2-for-1 and just one more possession for UConn is going to turn into 3 more possessions. And this is how they separate from other teams. Terrific clock management by trapping at midcourt and creating an additional opportunity.
And Gino Auriemma will use his timeout as we step aside. All right, Deb OTO out of the timeout. What do you think the 9-time National Coach of the Year drew up?
Well, I call it an ATO, but I'm sure he's going to inbound it. You got time for 4 dribbles here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a shot. And she gets it off. Wow.
So just take your 5 dribbles, a little duck through and follow up. And they've hung up half 100 on Tulane in the first 20 minutes. So UConn is in foul trouble. They are 17-0. Katie Lou Samuelson with a huge first half at the half. UConn 50, Tulane 29. Let's go to Doug Kazarian, Rebecca Lobo, and Andy Landers in the studio. Welcome back to Storrs, Connecticut, as we honor Pat Summitt and her continued impact on women's basketball, both on and off the court. Our score at the half, #1 UConn, who has won 92 in a row, 50, and Tulane 29. Hi, everyone. Bob Picozzi along with Deb Antonelli. And in the first half, the UConn Huskies got into some serious foul trouble. 3 on Nafisa Collier, 2 on Kia Nurse, 2 also on Gabby Williams. And you look up, and they're up 21 at the half anyway.
They still put 50 points on the board. That's how skilled they are offensively. And Tulane really has to work hard to dig themselves out of this hole. They just turned the ball over too much in the first half.
And as we take a look at the highlights, Colby Morgan is for real for the Green Wave.
She has been terrific. She's knocked down triples. She's gone off the bounce. She's scored in all 3 levels, counting the mid-range. She is 6 for 10 for 14 first half points. And then Katie Lou Samuelson. She has done a little bit of everything offensively. She is really seeking her own offense. And I believe Katie Lou has become the go-to for UConn.
Samuelson, the National High School Player of the Year 2 years ago out of Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California, the same school which sent Mosqueda Lewis, Kalina Mosqueda Lewis to UConn, and off the first possession, the layup for Wyatt, who played very little in the first half because of foul trouble.
Yeah, for Tulane, Wyatt, she played 3 minutes because she picked up a couple of quick fouls. And Tulane will start in the zone. They get Katie Lou inverted to the block with her size, and she scores inside. Now, Leslie Vorpal, the point guard for Tulane, has the ball right now. She's a senior. Of course, she's never had a win over UConn, but she could not have had a worse start to the game. 6 turnovers in the first half. Looking for her to play much better here in the second.
And she had 7 turnovers when Tulane played here a year ago. Meanwhile, Samuelson already with 20 points with an entire half left. Collier, ball fake, and the foul, #3 on Wyatt.
And part of the adjustment in game plan is you go right at Wyatt. For Gino Auriemma, she picks up her 3rd. I'm telling you, Collier and Williams, I'm not sure how many players play as hard as they do, or Connecticut for that matter. They play hard on every possession. As a matter of fact, they run out of the locker room faster than most teams.
The young men who sweep the floors do it harder than anyone in the country. And they got a lot of help because we counted them. There are 8 of them. I think sometimes they're out there before the timeout is called. Samuelson at the line. And you said play hard. Gino Auriemma told us, we asked him today, why has Nafisa Collier, who of course has struggled for minutes, you know, with the great trio of seniors on last year's team, for the last 4 years for that matter. And he said she's so effective because she plays harder than anyone. And she said, and he also added, she's unguardable.
Well, she's added her, her ability to shoot the 3. She can take up space off the bounce. And in Division I basketball, every player in Division I should be able to score off a closeout. And if you're going to face up and you have to be able to have that skill set to play at Connecticut, you're going to have to be able to score off a closeout, and all of them can.
Morgan with a hand in her face. Rebound on a bounce. Samuelson fouled from behind by Meredith Schulte. 2 on her and 2 on Tulane here in the third.
You know, last year, Katie Lou Samuelson, I mentioned 66% of the shots she took were outside the arc. This year, it's more like 48%, and that's because she has added to her game, and she is capable of making plays.
Samuelson cuts for the hoop, tough catch, and another basket.
So we've seen 2 ways of Samuelson's ability to score that we didn't see in the first half. One is he inverted her to the block. This time, she slips the screen, and she gets to the rim off a great pass.
And Vorpal does a nice job exploding by Samuelson getting to the rim.
Finally getting in the scoring column, which hopefully will help her confidence.
She averages 12 per game.
The one thing, Bob, when you come in here and play, you know it's challenging to win, but you don't want to lose 2 games in one or 3 games in one. You have to find out figure out a way to maintain some composure, to be able to continue to work. And you watch Katie Lou Samuelson do a good job right here on the cut. Just a nice backdoor look. If you don't jump to the basketball, and that's what happens here, Courtney Latham is trailing the play. If you don't jump to the ball, they're going to back cut you.
And more bad news. That's foul number 3 on Vorpal. If the 92 consecutive wins isn't impressive enough, how's this? It's been 814 days since the UConn women's basketball team has lost a game. The spin move by Morgan uses glass and comes away holding her head as if to say, where's the foul? Deflects it at the other end. Now Chong will reset the offense, but not for long. Collier with the miss and almost committed her 4th foul and going after the offensive rebound. "15 turnovers for Tulane." Williams puts it on the deck.
There's not many players that can make a post move in the women's game. Anybody can play in the high-low game. But to be able to make a move and put it on the floor, that's exactly what you got right there.
4 UConn players in double figures. Timeout Tulane. UConn-Tulane, the first of 3 women's games on ESPN2 today. Right after us, Rutgers will visit number 3 Maryland. The Terps are 18-1. And then Vanderbilt will visit Tennessee at 5 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. Our old buddy, our former ESPN colleague, Stephanie White, now in her first year as coach at Vanderbilt, and by her side, another one of our beloved former colleagues, Carolyn Pack.
Looking for their first win in SEC play. Tennessee won the last time these 2 teams met, and Tennessee's coming off a loss on the road to Auburn. Let's see which Lady Vol team shows up.
And for Maryland, Brianna Jones was named the ESPNW National Player of the Week last week. Head fake and a layup for Collier.
Yeah, Maryland's good. I think Maryland is a high-scoring offensive team. I think they're very skilled and talented. I look for them to be one of those teams that will contend to be a Final Four team.
Wyatt with the basket. Maryland 18-1. The only blip, a loss to UConn. And Collier will draw the foul. Madison Schulte, number 3 on her, and that's 5 on the team. So UConn's going to spend the rest of the quarter shooting free throws.
2 free throws.
We mentioned that Gino Auriemma described Williams as being unguardable. He added that she drives like nobody else. She finishes with either hand, and she has incredible instinct. Deb, do you think UConn being 17-0 despite losing Tuck and Jefferson and Stewart is a case of you have players like Collier and Williams who are just biding their time, waiting for minutes, and now they have them. They have a chance to display their great talents?
Well, they're very talented. There's no question. They were 3 high school All-Americans, the players that you mentioned. Katie Lou Samuelson and Gabby Williams was highly recruited by everyone in the country. I think you just have a certain culture here, and it's cliche to talk about it, but I think you understand when you come here that there's certain things that are part of playing at Connecticut that are different than everywhere else. Just like running out of the locker room harder than anyone else does. I mean, there's a certain level of consistent effort here and execution and discipline, and you're going to play for 40 minutes, and you're going to practice like that too.
Foul number 4 on Wyatt. Well, Gino has gone on record there. Crystal Dangerfield is out, missing her 4th consecutive game with a foot injury. They will re-examine that foot on January 27th. We'll take another look. And Williams is holding her jaw. And that's
Well, they're going to take a look at that because there's contact above the shoulders, I believe.
now Williams is laughing, so she's good thing that she's not seriously injured. There's another look.
Watch Wyatt here. That's not intentional. That's a basketball play. You know, let me say this. Most officials would have gone to the monitor. I'm glad they didn't because there's nothing to look at there. Just because there's contact above the shoulders doesn't mean you have to go every time.
Heck, we have that kind of contact at the broadcast table 3-4 times.
Well, I'm
every
usually
game.
posting up over here, that's for sure.
Samuelson with another 3. She's got 27 coming off a career high 34.
She has size, she has length, she has an incredible work ethic, Samuelson, and a high-level skill. I love watching offensive players. I can tell you that right now. There is nothing more exciting to me than seeing an offensive player that can score in a variety of ways. And Katie Lou Samuelson can do that. When you study her on Synergy, it's fun to watch.
Samuelson, after missing her first 4, is now 10 for her last 13.
You cannot lose her. Her efficiency numbers are incredible. I mean, her ability to play with confidence, the intangibles that she brings. See, she's right here. She's trailing that play, looking for another 3.
Great pass from Butler to Collier. So, Deb, Samuelson played an entire season and 15 games without ever scoring 30 points. And now in her last 2 games, she's gone back-to-back for 30 or more.
And that doesn't happen very often here because of the balance of Connecticut. By design from Coach Oriema.
Samuelson with the steal. Threw the ball a little bit behind Nurse. And we'll get a held ball, and it will stay at the UConn end of the floor.
Watch Katie Lou Samuelson right here. Just spot up in the corner. Really stretches the D. Terrific catch and shoot. Also, you can't find her. You can't lose her in the gaps of the zone.
34 last time out, 30 so far for Samuelson. Between them, they have national championships. We'll see number 5 Kentucky and number 2 Kansas on January 28th.
I'm sure De'Aaron Fox will be back from that little ankle twist that he had in the game last night.
Yep, left yesterday's game with an injury.
Hopefully he'll be
will,
back.
yeah, we'll have the Wildcats on ESPN on Tuesday night when they visit Tennessee. Kentucky, number 3 in the country to score. You like offense?
I like boxing 1 right here with Courtney Latham guarding Katie Lou Samuelson.
Molly Bent, number 10, is checked in for UConn for the first time. Williams is not only out of the game, she's not on the bench. They took her to the locker room, no doubt, to examine that jaw. And she was the recipient of an arm to the head and neck area. Vorpal, pull up.
An official raised her arm like she was going to blow a foul there, and I'm glad she waved it off. It was much better to let that play develop, and Leslie Vorpal got a good mid-range jump shot off it.
Collier, kick out Nurse, wide open 3.
And so Katie Lou Samuelson barely crosses midcourt against the boxing 1, and Gino Oriema will just say, okay, you want to play 4-on-4 for a little while? I'm fine with that.
Vorpal And Samuelson with the steal. Nurse helped create it. And then the Huskies, it'll still be their ball deflected. During the last timeout, Gabby Williams left the bench. And this is why.
It's a post up.
Yeah. Harlan Wyatt committing her 4th foul on that play. Chris Daly talking to Gabby. And they decided to take her into the locker room. So Molly Bent and Natalie Butler both on the floor. So UConn with only 3 starters. Chong will check in at the next whistle. Bent is a freshman, and Gino Auriemma told us today nobody on the team spends more time working to try to improve their game than she does. Butler with the miss, and the rebound is pulled down by Latham.
Well, what he said is she knows 3 places on campus: the gym, the classroom, and her dorm. Look at that. 2 dribbles past midcourt to the rim with her left.
This is Katie Lou Samuelson's classroom.
And she's guarding Colby Morgan. So she's got all the scoring responsibility and the defense on the top scorer.
Yeah, another steal, and Nurse can't hit, but Butler yanks down the rebound. And just like that, it's a 37-point lead. Tulane has lost all 5 previous meetings to UConn, and they've come in the last 2 seasons. Nice look down low, but it was blocked by Samuelson.
See, that's the play to run against UConn when Natalie Butler's in the floor. Put her in some screening action because they don't like to switch with her at the 5. So note to the UConn scatter report, you got to find something. There's got to be some sort of Achilles heel, right? And so when Natalie Butler comes in the game, that's something that you have to look to exploit. It's so hard to find any sort of flaw, because you're never going to question their effort and their work ethic.
3rd foul on Latham. Big afternoon for Nurse. And a big Monday doubleheader presented by eBay with 2 great matchups this week at 7 Eastern. It's ACC action. NC State and number 18 Duke. Then at 9, it's out to the Big 12 for Oklahoma and Texas. It's the worst start in Longhorn coach Shaka Smart's career for the Longhorns. Of course, they have not been the same since Tevin Mack was suspended indefinitely. So Samuelson now on the bench for now, and Williams has reemerged from the locker room.
That might be the end of Katie Lou's day with 32 points, back-to-back 30-point efforts.
Well, Deb, you remember the great 39-0 UConn team of 2002 as Morgan misses the shot. They had 4 players among the first 6 picks in the draft.
Right.
Sue Bird, Swin Cash, Asia Jones, Tamika Williams, all in the same graduating class. You know how many 30-point games those 4 combined for in their career?
I'm going to guess 0.
1. Swin Cash went off for 32 one night against Old Dominion.
It's just not the Connecticut way. It's a part of their balance and their culture.
Yeah.
Share the ball. I mean, 70% of the baskets they score this year are assisted. They don't put the ball on the floor unless they need to. They just have great spacing, and they're unselfish. And they can make shots.
The shot from the corner by Keilu Mano Idirungbi is no good.
I'm just going to call her number 5 because that's what Lisa Stockton calls her. Number 5 in green.
Look, you hammered the proper pronunciation of her name into my head during practice last night, so I feel I have to live up to your teaching now. There's Kayla. She's from Hawera, New Zealand. And she wondered, she asked, is it old? UConn, we told her, Kayla, this is the warmest day you will ever see in January. It hit 50 degrees in stores yesterday. Madu Idirungi nearly threw it away. Shot clock at 5. Kayla Cruikshank is called for the travel. So what can UConn accomplish in 3.2, Deb?
Well, I said I'll say 3 dribbles and a shot.
No. When you're up 39, there's really no need to force the issue, is there? But it's been a spectacular game so far for sophomore Katie Lou Samuelson. She had 34 on Tuesday at Tulsa, 32 so far today. It's been all UConn. Welcome back to Storrs, Connecticut, as we honor Pat Summitt. Down through the years, Pat Summitt and Geno Auriemma. They first met as opposing coaches in 1995. They met in 4 national championship games. And the relationship continued after Pat stopped coaching.
You know, one of the things story that I have about Coach Auriemma and Coach Summitt is, you know, after Pat was diagnosed, I was here for a game, and I happened to be chatting with Coach Auriemma before the game, and I said, hey, if it comes up inside the game, is it okay if I mention that you made a donation to the Pat Summitt Foundation? And he looked at me and he said, how'd you know about that? And I said, I know because I was with Pat when she was crafting her thank you note, and she was very emotional about it. And he was very emotional about it as well. It was a very nice moment about 2 iconic people in our game. And I don't think people realize how philanthropic Geno has been, he and his wife, Kathy.
Well, the University of Connecticut certainly has been the benefactor of that generosity over the years as Natalie Butler hits the shot.
So has the Kay Cancer Fund.
Yeah, which is near and dear to your heart. Kay, of course, was your coach at NC State. You played on a couple of Sweet 16 teams there, and I know that she had a tremendous influence on your life.
She did, and so did Pat Summitt. I think Doris summed it up very well for all of us. We all know how much Pat cared about the game and about the people in the game.
John hits the 3. By the way, Gabby Williams back on the floor, so it's good to see that there is no serious injury involved. That is the one thing.
There you go. Tack the hedge. You get the rise on the strong side, Bob. Then you get the shot that you want. That is good execution by Tulane.
The foul will be on Butler. My goodness, just a few wins between those two. As you mentioned earlier, Geno will join that 1,000-win club next year. First and third in the career one-loss percentages, and most importantly, they've combined to win 19 national championships. And remember, this championship didn't begin until 1982. My favorite personal Pat Summitt story, I'm doing a game, the first time I ever did a game in Knoxville, and my luggage got lost. Flew in the night before, luggage didn't make the flight. Didn't make the first flight the next day, didn't make the second flight, so I'm at Tennessee shoot-around, and I have to go buy clothes. I got to wear something on the air, so Coach Summitt says, how was your trip here? And I said, well, Coach, you see what I'm wearing? That's all I got. As soon as we finish chatting, I have to go buy some clothes. And you don't happen to have a size 41 long navy blue blazer lying around, do you? And she said, and I'm going to do this drawl terribly, but she said, no, but I'm sure I could find a nice looking orange tie that'll just look great with it.
Pat literally gave me the shirt off her back after one game. I dropped her name in the state of Kentucky and got out of a speeding ticket because the state trooper loved basketball and he knew Pat Summitt. I was with her when she got her hole-in-one, and I've sat in her kitchen and have eaten my fair share of jalapeno corn.
Molly Bentz.
And by the way, if you have not gone to the PatSummitt.org site, you need to, because you can see the Alzheimer's clinic and you can see what a part of what Pat's legacy is going to be, and that is serving the people that need help. There's a list of over 7,000 people awaiting Alzheimer's and dementia care just in the state of Tennessee, and this clinic bearing her name is going to help service some of those people.
Coach Summitt, one of only a dozen or so sports figures who have been the recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Great lady, and we all miss her dearly. But she was a lot of fun, too.
Just look at Natalie Butler, her dad Vernon, second leading scorer and rebounder in Naval Academy history, and had a very famous teammate, a guy by the name of the Admiral, David Robinson, and they helped lead Navy. Imagine Navy going all the way to the Elite Eight. Well, they did with David Robinson.
Well, good rebound in traffic by Butler, and through the contact.
And She will get to the line. She was the Big East Rookie of the Year in her only season at Georgetown. Had to sit out as a transfer, then last year missed 10 games with a thumb injury. Butler knocks it down. Super Tuesday presented by CenturyLink. Boasts a great doubleheader. At 7, we go to the Big 12 between a couple of top 10 teams. Number 2 Kansas, number 7 West Virginia. Then at 9 in the SEC, number 5 Kentucky will take on Tennessee.
West Virginia back-to-back losses in Big 12 play. They're probably going to fall out of the top 10. However, their press at home is the best defense in the country.
Yeah, this will be one of the toughest challenges for Kansas to that 18-game winning streak. They only lost to Indiana.
If you're Frank Mason, you're going to love that kind of pressure because it's just going to open up opportunity.
Cruikshank misses the shot, and Bent is foul. No, they're going to call it the other way. They will call the foul on Bent, and it will stay at this end.
Lisa Stockton is doing a great job here in the fourth quarter, continuing to coach her team, trying to get them to execute. Like we mentioned before, you can't lose 2 games when you come in here, which means you lose the one here, but you can't let your kids get lost in the way the outcome of the game is. You got to keep playing. You want to make sure you're ready for the next one,
which will be against Tulsa on Wednesday night at home. And speaking of Lisa Stockton, she told us last night that she worked Pat Summitt's camp when Lisa was a young coach at Division III Greensboro. She is a native of Greensboro, North Carolina. And Lisa said, watching Pat in action when I was a young coach was very inspiring. She's one of a kind.
What a game Colby Morgan has put together. I mean, she's going to have some confidence coming out of here when you can put on a good number against the Connecticut defense.
She's got 20 points for the 4th consecutive game. Williams puts it on the floor.
That's why Gino Auriemma calls her the most athletic player in the country. That is unguardable. Catch it at the elbow in a pinch, one dribble to the hoop. Can't stop it. Only foul it. That's it, but you're not going to stop it.
You know, I asked Gino today, I said, you know, I know a loss isn't going to hurt you. I mean, how can it hurt you? You've won 11 national titles. You're 17-0. You've won 92 in a row. I said, could a loss help? He said, yeah, I hope you get about 3 of them. He felt that the last time they lost, which was to Stanford on November 17th, 2014, he said was the reason they then went on and won that national championship. He said, we were feeling good about ourselves. We didn't think that Stanford could beat us. And that was a punch that we absorbed. And that had everything to do with us going on this long streak since.
Watch this move right here. Bang, one dribble. It's all you need with the left. So quick.
She was the 2-time Gatorade Track Athlete of the Year in the state of Nevada.
Well, she's fun to watch. She plays hard. She can guard 1 through 5. She can play up the line. She can rebound and recover off some screening action. She's very good at rotating on their back row.
Butler guarded by Majarovic. Williams feeds Kyla Irwin down low, and a flat-footed block shot by Harlan Wyatt.
Got to be careful with those 4. Good job by Natalie Butler to stuff that split.
Don't forget, coming up right after us, we will have the 3rd-ranked Maryland Terrapins against Rutgers. And then at 5 Eastern time on ESPN2, Vanderbilt, Tennessee.
Colby Morgan had the same angle that I had. There was no space there, and she was able to score off the window. I saw 3 white jerseys on that straight line drive to the bucket, and she still got there.
Sean with the pull-up, and she is fouled by Cruikshank. So Chong will go to the free throw line. UConn's got 92 straight wins and 92 points.
Doug Kazarian here in the ESPN studios. Just a reminder, coming up next, Brianna Jones in Maryland getting set to host Rutgers. Terrapins undefeated in conference play. Their only loss this year? Well, one of UConn's 92 straight, about to become 93, Bob.
That's right, Doug. Thank you very much. And tomorrow during halftime of the Mississippi State-South Carolina Big Monday game here on ESPN2. Be sure to tune in to see the first of 3 NCAA Top 16 reveals. Additional reveals will take place during Big Monday doubleheaders on February 6th and February 20th. Sanaya Chong at the line, a prolific high school scorer. She scored 30 points 51 times in her high school career. Finally getting a chance for some meaningful minutes as a senior. Shakira Harding on the drive, and it will be an offensive foul.
You got to move the ball. I'm sure that's exactly what Coach Stockton is talking about right now. Never got a ball reversal. Connecticut locked in on the strong side. Easy to draw a charge on that drive.
Number 20, Tierney Lawler, with 4th-year walk-on, has checked in, pass off the hands of Irwin, and this is Cruikshank.
Yeah, so not a good pass, and you know, Coach Auriemma working on every detail, every aspect. You know, he alluded to today talking to us about Broadway shows and how every time you go to a Broadway show, they do the same show the night before, the night before that, the night after. It's the same show. It's a high level of precision and execution, and that's what he expects every time his team shows up. There is an entertainment value in watching Connecticut play.
And so when the players come here, they realize, look, it's not like there are any other options other than winning.
That's right. You got to win. I mean, 11. You know what's amazing to me is every time I come here, I come over the wind through that country road and come over the hill, and there's University of Connecticut, and that's what it is. And he has won 11 national championships. There's not a lot of fanfare here. Yeah, I live in Charleston. Let me just reference I live in the #1 city in the world.
Timeout, Lisa Stockton. So they're going to reveal the NCAA Top 16 for the first time this season tomorrow. And this is Deb's Top 16.
So this is what I have. So you look at the first 4, and I've got Maryland as a 1 seed. Mississippi State or South Carolina, one of them, whoever wins tomorrow night, is going to be the 1 seed. But I have 5 Pac-12 teams because I think the Pac-12 is the most compelling, interesting, most quality wins out of those 5 teams. And then at the bottom, I have Miami right now. But keep your eye on NC State and Kansas State. 2 teams that I like that have a chance with some good basketball in front of them to be able to finish with some good RPI wins. So, listen, this is my first stab at it. This is going into games today. And so when the reveal comes tomorrow, that will be games that are reflective of today's outcomes. But I don't know if we've had any upsets yet today.
And, of course, the NCAA started doing it this way a year ago. And the top 16 seeds, presuming that you put in a bid to host first and second round games, will host first and second round games.
So I'm not pretending to be Charlie Cream. I mean, Charlie's working hard out there in Vegas, putting his, because that's where he lives, putting his bracket together. But I like those 16 teams for hosting in the first round and the second round of the NCAA tournament.
As of now, Charlie has both SEC teams, along with Maryland, along with Baylor and UConn as #1 seeds. He has Tulane, by the way, as Harding buries the 3. He has Tulane as a 10 seed and one of the last 4 teams into the field. And a loss today to UConn, I think, no matter what the margin is, shouldn't hurt you.
I don't think it factors into anything in this conference. Now, it certainly factors into seeding for the teams that Coach Auriemma had on his schedule that were supposed to beat him and didn't beat him. Now, I thought they'd have 2 or 3 losses at this point in the year.
So did he, by the way. He says that's why he scheduled all those heavy hitters early in the season. As how do you pronounce your last name again, Deb?
Number 5.
Kayla. Manu Idirangi hits her first basket of the day. UConn has played 8 top 25 ranked teams already. Sean with the layup. They beat number 2 Baylor when they were number 2. They're still number 2. They beat Notre Dame when they were number 2. They beat Maryland when they were 4. They beat Florida State when they were 12. Ohio State when they were 12.
And all those teams that you listed, Notre Dame's the only team they out-rebounded. So that's an area, you know, when you mentioned Kim Mulkey earlier with her size up front. And I know Dawn Staley is looking forward to very much bringing her team in here. And when they come in here on February 13th, South Carolina, Gino Auriemma and his program will be going for win number 100 in a row. It should be outstanding. And if you have time tomorrow night, you better watch the Mississippi State-South Carolina game. That is going to be outstanding as well.
Irwin with the rebound and the foul. With that rebound, UConn now has 1 more rebound than Tulane today. The crowd responding because Irwin, who doesn't get much playing time, she's a freshman scholarship player, is on the scoreboard. Freshman from State College, Pennsylvania.
And it's the second time this season they've gone over the 100-point mark.
Butler with the rebound. They had 98 last time out against Tulsa. Molly Bent pull up. And it will come back to Tulane with 1 minute remaining.
Mississippi State and South Carolina have incredible size. That will be something to keep your eye on. Great point guard play. I think that game is going to be determined on the edge on both ends of the floor.
Wyatt and the foul. So this will be the 93rd straight win for UConn. So how does that stack up against some of the other longest winning streaks in collegiate history? Well, the Miami tennis team sits all alone by itself with 137, and Penn State women's volleyball, and of course that great North Carolina women's soccer program, and then UConn. So UConn, it's another thing to shoot for. Actually, the last thing in the world Gino Auriemma likes to talk about are winning streaks. You know what he likes to talk about, the streak? The 4 straight national championships and the 9 straight trips to the Final Four. He says when those streaks end, then I'm mad.
He's awfully proud of the people that he's had in this program. Some of the all-time greats in the history of our sport have played here.
Harding with 6 seconds left. Manu Idirangi can't get it to go. The putback by Wyatt, no good. And that'll do it. So the winning streak is now 93 for UConn. They are 18-0 this year. Our final, UConn 100, Tulane. Up next, more women basketball. Rutgers and Maryland, part of We Back Pat. For Deb Antonelli, I'm Bob Picozzi. Good afternoon from Stores. Now let's go to the studio. Thanks, Deb. Thank you, Doug. Deb is here, and Katie Lou Samuelson is between us. Katie Lou, after scoring a career-high 34 points last Tuesday against Tulsa, you only had 32 today in the 93rd consecutive victory. Congratulations on another great performance.
Thank you.
What about this UConn team makes it possible for you to go off for 34, 32 in back-to-back games?
I think it's our transition. I think when we kind of convert all our baskets from defense into transition scoring, that's when I feel comfortable scoring and everyone kind of gets in their groove. So, yeah.
Katie Lou, you last year kind of waited for the ball to rotate to you. This year you seem to be seeking a little bit more offense. Why is that, and why is it important for this team for you to be able to do that?
Well, I've just been trying to be a more consistent scorer for this team and someone that everyone can count on. So when we have droughts or things aren't going well, I try to do stuff that they know I'll hit in practice and I'll do it in the game. So I'm just trying to be consistently that kind of scorer for this team.
Let's take a look at some of you in action today, Katie Lou. We chatted with Coach Auriemma during shoot-around today. We asked him what's the big difference last year to this year for Katie Lou. And he said last year she waited till action came to her. This year she hunts down shots. Care to react?
He's kind of been on me about that all year, and last year I definitely did stay on the three-point line and just do whatever I needed to do for that team, but this year it's kind of been different, and I know that I have a bigger role and I need to do a lot of different things to kind of keep myself in the game because teams are guarding me a lot harder than last year, so I have to do a lot more things.
Katie Lou, how do you guys maintain the same level over and over and over? I mean, it just seems like no one else can do it for 40 minutes. What is it about your culture that allows you guys to play together, play connected on both ends of the floor for 40 minutes?
Well, Coach has always instilled in us that we work harder than every single team. We got to do that every single day so that if teams try to catch up to us, we have to do it that much more, and kind of so we have this bar and just keep working to it every single day because he lets us know how much we have to improve on all the time. So we know that we have a lot to work on, and he never lets us get too comfortable.
Bob, humility is a great trait here at Connecticut.
Indeed it is. You have to learn some humility to play for this man. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Congratulations on a great game today.
Thank you.
Katie Lou Samuelson, she scored 32. Now let's go back to the studio. Doug?